YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back. And today we got some cornerback duo rankings for the 2020 season. Some people think these are based on the past. I'm not really sure why, but we're moving forward here. Based on the 2020 season, basically predicting. And we got a bunch of duo and trio rankings. Top 10 today, and I do have one sleeper, so we're actually looking at 11 cornerback duos. We'll do safeties next and all kinds of predictions and rankings coming up. Once we do a full unit, defense, offense, player rankings by position, we'll do a full 32, so can't wait for that. Hopefully you can join us. Hopefully you can subscribe. We recently hit 50K. Appreciate the support. We're trying to match that on our second channel, and we're going to keep on grinding, keep on growing here thanks to you guys. Follow that Twitter. A lot of NFL updates, Goat House updates, keeping you guys involved in content with a lot of polls, so you're going to want to follow that Twitter and check out that podcast. Link down below, description, comments for anything you need there. Like I said, top 10 cornerback duos, but we're starting with a sleeper. So we have the number 11 here. Don't sleep on the Cincinnati Bengals. Yeah, they picked up Trey Waynes this offseason, I think was kind of who was carrying the Vikings cornerback unit, I should say. A sure tackling corner, and I think pairing him with William Jackson. William Jackson was very high in the draft a few years ago, was injured his first season, so I think now's the time. You know, he's had his moments, his really good moments, inconsistent moments, but a very athletic corner, a playmaking corner. I think now's kind of his time to break out. I think kind of banking on him having a breakout season, and now that they kind of got their duo, their set duo, I think that's a team to watch out for here. They invested a lot in the cornerback position this offseason. So Trey Waynes, William Jackson, a duo that you might think may not be too good, but I wouldn't sleep on it. I think it's a pretty solid one, maybe one that's not talked about enough. But we're on to the top 10 now. Number 10 is going to be the Pittsburgh Steelers of Joe Hayden and Steven Nelson. Probably better than 10 based off last year. I do think their front seven, helped them out quite a bit. So maybe this year, tough to kind of duplicate that season, replicate it, I should say, and, but I think they'll still be solid. Steven Nelson kind of came out of nowhere. Wasn't too good of a corner, had a very good season last year. Joe Hayden, a very impressive season for a guy that's kind of you expect to be declining. I still think top 10 probably won't play as good as last year, but a very solid duo here and made the cut. Number 9 is going to be the Buffalo Bills. Yeah, Tre'Davious White kind of carries this group. I like a little more balance, and we're talking about duos. We're not ranking. We'll get to the cornerback rankings eventually. We're not ranking one guy by himself, but Josh Norman, yes, he has declined over the last few years, but now he's in a good spot here with the Buffalo Bills opposite of Tre'Davious White. Josh Norman's the number 2. I think that kind of helps him being the number 2 corner. I'm kind of banking on him having a better year. So White, yeah, maybe carries the group a little bit, but Norman I still think is a little bit left in the tank, and I think him coming to Buffalo with this defense with Tre'Davious White kind of makes him better. So the Bills at number 9 for 2020. Number 8 is going to be the Tennessee Titans. We need these guys to stay healthy. They were both hurt last year. Malcolm Butler, more time missing. Adoree Jackson, of course. I would have said Malcolm Butler kind of the number 1 of this group, but now I think it's time for Adoree Jackson to show he's the number 1. Been a solid corner. Now it's time for him to really break out. We see the difference of the Titans cornerback unit with a guy like Adoree Jackson without him, because we've seen them miss some time. Malcolm Butler pretty much missed the whole season there. Butler still, I think, a solid corner. I think 2 years ago, the first half of the year, it was a little rough. People were kind of questioning the contract they gave him. He was, not playing too well. Second half of the season, totally different guy. Played way better. So, I think kind of adjusting to the Titans defense. So I expect him, as long as these guys are healthy, I expect to be a pretty good duo here and a pretty balanced duo. There's no sure thing on who is better than the other, and they're both solid corners. So Titans at number 8. Number 7 is going to be the Arizona Cardinals. Patrick Peterson, well known as one of the better corners of the last several years. Yeah, we need to see him play a whole season, but missing some time here and there. And, yeah, he's declined a little bit. I still trust him to be a top-tier corner. And then you have BYRON Murphy, who was an early second-round pick a year ago, not this past draft, a year ago. So I expect him to step up, and he was a top corner in that draft class for a reason. So a pretty good duo here. We get to see, maybe Peterson's not going to play as good as he once was playing, but we expect to see him a full season, and that's what BYRON Murphy kind of progressing as well. So I expect this, as long as they're on the field, to be a pretty good duo. Number 7 there. Number 6 is going to be the Green Bay Packers. Jair Alexander is on his way to being a top-tier cornerback here. I think an all-around balanced corner, can be a playmaker, can be a shutdown corner. Then Kevin King, I find quite underrated. I think there was games last year where everyone's like, wow, Alexander, but what about Kevin King? I think he played just as good. He might have had better games. He's probably covering number 2s compared to Alexander covering 1s, but I thought he had a pretty good season last year. And there is a lot of rotating going on. Alexander's pretty much in there most of the time, but I think going forward, this is the duo. And it's a good young duo that's kind of going to continue to grow together here. So the Packers are at 6. Number 5 on to the big top 5 here. We got the Rams at 5. Jalen Ramsey being one of the better corners in football. And yeah, because he's one of the better corners in football, yeah, you could say he carries this group a bit, and maybe he does. But Troy Hill is another very underrated corner. They moved on from Marcus Peters, and they're keeping Troy Hill around for a reason. He's a good young corner, good lengthy outside corner here, and they like a lot. With the limited reps. Not super limited, but the limited reps, before, them getting rid of Marcus Peters, pretty impressive, what he's able to do. So Ramsey and Troy Hill, a very solid duo, especially for the future, as long as they can lock up Ramsey. What you think the amount they traded, you would think they can get that done. So the Rams, maybe being a little underrated just because Troy Hill, better than you think. But they come in at number 5. Number 4, I got the New England Patriots. Stephon Gilmore being one of the best in football, maybe the best. And then J.C. Jackson. Most people put McCourty here, but most people don't know that J.C. Jackson played more snaps than him last year. And this is a young Maryland product on the rise, a good playmaker, good mixture of physicality and playmaking ability. I was shocked that the Patriots got him undrafted a few years ago. This guy is another sleeper, a guy that a lot of people won't talk about. And this, the top 4 are so close. This realistically can be one. You do want to see a little more from J.C. Jackson, but yeah, they come in at number 4 in a tough list here. Again, with the top 4 very tight. Number 3 is going to be the L.A. Chargers. Casey Hayward, we all know, has been one of the top corners in football, especially for the Chargers. And then Chris Harris has kind of been known as one of the top guys. I think he played a little better in the slot, but also it's impressive that he can play kind of equally as good, maybe a little better in the slot, equally as good though, close enough inside, outside, which is very impressive on his talents because they're really 2 different positions, but they do have Desmond King for the slot as well. So I think these are to be the outside corners, and these are very solid corners. A really balanced group. You look at balance, but at the same time, some top-notch playmaking ability here. So the Chargers coming in at number 3. Number 2 is going to be pretty much a new one here, even though the Dolphins already had XAVIEN Howard, but we missed him last year, really wasn't on the field. And BYRON Jones, the highest paid corner now in football. And it's tough. I don't like paying corners all that money, but I kind of make the exception for BYRON Jones. And why? Because it's a freaky young cornerback that is going to continue to get better. People forget this guy was a safety. 2 years ago, this guy was a safety. They switched him to corner, and we knew he had snaps at both, but you kind of question, how will he be at corner? And right away, 2 years ago, easily top 20, probably top 15 corner. You look at second year, last year, lockdown guy that has the athletic ability to make the plays. This guy's nearing a top 10 cornerback player here, while, and you expect him to get well inside that the next year, while it's his second year, while he's still young, while he has all this upside room to grow. So I make an exception there, and I think this is easily a top 10 corner for this year. Before last year, I was predicting XAVIEN Howard to be a top 5 corner. Just the traits I see on the field, the mixture of physicality, athleticism, playmaking ability, always, going after the ball. We didn't get to see enough of him last year. And, I thought the same thing about him out of Baylor quite some time ago. And there's a reason they kind of gave him that contract as well. So as long as these guys are on the field, this is a young, very good cornerback duo with a lot of upside. We need to see Howard again. We need to see more of him. We need to see BYRON Jones, a third year at the cornerback position, now on a different team, see if he's worth the money. But it is a bright future here with this cornerback duo. Number 1, though, I think is no question. It's got to be the Baltimore Ravens. Marcus Peters, one of the better playmaking corners in football. You know, I always talk about, you know, the corners. There's corners that are able to read the quarterback. They like reading the quarterback's eyes, you know, predicting where the ball's going to go. There's cornerbacks that are kind of locked down on the receiver. You know, some of those corners can be good. They just lock down the receiver, but sometimes they don't know where the ball's coming in. There's very few that can kind of play both. You know, they can manage to kind of, you know, cover, you know, watch the quarterback's eyes, the ball, and the receiver at the same time. You know, kind of play both. And I think Marcus Peters is one of those players, and that's why he's such a good playmaking corner. Marlon Humphrey, a guy on the rise. You know, a young corner out of Alabama. I think he's grown so much since then. You know, another one that he had the athleticism. You know, in his past, we knew he was a track star, and then he adds the physicality as soon as he comes into Baltimore here, and very impressive. Either one of these guys can be the one. You know, I think they're different styles, and they pair together so well. You know, if you want to say Marcus Peters is the better corner, I agree. You can make the cases, and I can't argue against those cases. Same thing goes for Marlon Humphrey, and both these guys are legit corners, so this is a very impressive duo here. But again, the top four are pretty close. I mean, a lot of these are close, but you know, I had Patriots at 4. They have maybe the best corner in football, and Stephon Gilmore and J.C. Jackson, who I'm high on. I think he's a sleeper. I was high on when he came out of Maryland. You know, he can prove himself this year, really make that. He's already proven enough to me, I think, but he can make that statement this year, and easily those guys can be the number one. So we see how close the 4 is, but there was really no hesitation, really no sit down and thinking which one's better for me in terms of, you know, number 1. I think the Ravens are number 1. And again, the Dolphins, you know, the good young group that definitely can be number 1 soon, very soon. So, but the Ravens right now, 1 for me. In the comments, rank your top 10. If you want to give me 5, that's fine. If you want to give me more than 10, if you want to give me some sleepers, I love to see that. Love to compare everyone's in the comments compared to mine. So please do that. Smash that like button. Check out both of our channels. Please subscribe. Turn notifications on. You're going to want to follow that Twitter. That's probably the most important thing to keep up to date with the NFL, with the Goat House. So check that out. Link down below for anything you need. That's going to do it for this one, though. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.